This help video discusses the phase column, column B, inside the Trends tab of the matrix, and basic concepts of the evolution of the trade. The phase column helps us follow the phases within the evolution of the trade that help guide our core position and take profits on it and escalate it and then ultimately sell it. The evolution of the trade is discussed here on top of, and you can go into the blog, and I provide a link below the video that will allow you to read more detail about the evolution of the trade. I suggest reading the concepts thoroughly, but an overview of it is that the evolution of the trade is a time management and a trend management that establishes a core position. That core position is moved through different phases that follow the price cycles and time cycles and energy cycles that follow the flow of time and follow the flow of price. So we use that and define four different phases within the evolution of the trade. The energy build or nibble, and these are large opposing energy builds against primary trend decline 1 and 2 phases, or PTD, which is located here in the phase column. We can see them marked right there. There's a PTD1, there's a PTD2, and they are highlighted red. The name columns are highlighted red when you find, when the computer finds a market that's entered primary trend decline. Primary trend decline 2 is the most extended of the primary trend decline phase. They're the ideal candidates to look for opposing energy builds against the primary trend. I try to use an example. Maybe we'll see natural gas has been down for 24 months. If you have a large bullish energy build that opposes that at some point, and it's not quite there yet, it would be a logical candidate for a nibble position. A nibble position is not the core position, but it's a small provisional position that anticipates a primary trend flip. If the primary trend does flip, then you escalate it. But the nibble is our first attempt to enter a position both long or short, either one. You can go in either direction, but because it's a large opposing energy build against the primary trend decline phase that is extended. The next phase is the flip, and that's the primary trend breakout. It's marked by FIP, which is a flip in progress, and flip in the phase column. They're denoted here. There's a flip in progress, FIP, and here's another flip, and it's marked F. Flips need to be finalized by the end of the month. The 10-year is a flip in progress in the month of February. The Treasury bill, however, is already flipped, so it's already in the second month, and it's flipped down. These are flips down. So these are ideal candidates to establish a core short position if the energy build is not opposing it, but that's really not the discussion that we're going to do right now. But we can see that the bond market has large bullish energy builds, so that's something that it also factors into whether or not the flip is chased. But in general, when the primary trend flips, you want to follow the direction of the trade in terms of the monthly trend. And those are highlighted green and denoted by FIP and F in the phase column. After that, the trend usually established, if it doesn't abort and doesn't go in the opposite direction or be canceled, there are opportunities in which you will get a reset. An example would be in the corn market. A large primary trend down decline phase established a long period of which corn generated a PTD1 or a PTD2. Then it showed a large energy build right about here, of which some investors could have, or traders could have decided that was a candidate for a nibble. And then in time, that energy build forced the primary trend to flip, which it did ultimately here. So the energy build came here, the primary trend flipped, and now it's run, and now we're in a position where the energy build is opposing against it. But that primary nibble first came, then the flip came, and now the core position has been established. Corn is now waiting for a reset where the daily trend would fall out of upside directional move, and the weekly or the weekly impulse would fall out of upside move. Then it would turn down, the daily would turn down. They both don't have to. The daily can turn down, or the daily and weekly can turn down simultaneously or together. But ultimately, when they flip back up, if the primary trend still stays up, if this maintains a green box, and the daily trends flip back up and the weekly trend, or just the daily alone flips back up, it generates a reset. And a reset is marked by R in the column. And there's numerous resets here inside the matrix. R's are just without any number extension next to them. An R will be highlighted yellow in the name column. There are no immediate resets. The closest reset that the matrix is showing right now would probably be Cocoa with R plus 5. That means it's 5 days past its reset. Whether or not that's a profitable one, that's a discussion probably for Cocoa's individual review. A lot of it depends on whether the reset takes place, whether the energy build was favorable for that. It classifies resets as viable. But in terms of the phase column, all we're looking at are R's and R plus on certain numbers. After a while, the computer will stop listing numbers because it'll try and say don't chase anymore. So it'll stop publishing it. You can see there's empty phase columns here. That's essentially you're within the alignment and energy phase, but there's no play anymore. So this is a long phase. Phase 3 is alignment and energy or reset. When it's empty in the phase column, you're in the alignment and energy phase, and there's really nothing going on. You're waiting for a reset, or you're waiting for primary trend decline to materialize. The final phase is the primary trend decline, or the aging trend, and that's denoted by the codes that we talked about already, PTD1, PTD2. They're highlighted red in order for us to say, you know, this is no longer a trend or a primary trend that we would want to chase within a reset, and it's probably something that you want to change your investment strategy with, which is more or less looking for it's time to sell if you're long, or it's time to cover your short positions if you're short. So that's really the description of the phase column. It binds tightly with the evolution of the trade. And I suggest reading more about the evolution of the trade inside the matrix. You can do that by going back to the blog, following the links, and clicking the banner matrix. And then there's a link in there that will say evolution of the trade, and it will discuss it in detail. Understanding the evolution of the trade is absolutely vital to maintaining discipline and using that discipline to override emotions and biases and narratives that take place on the internet. We're only interested in following the invisible hand, and that can only be accomplished by following the primary trend, by following price cycles, by following time cycles, and by following energy here. And within that, it'll remove your emotion, it'll remove your ego, it'll remove your thought process, and it'll help you better follow the invisible hand. And the phase column here is an important start of understanding the matrix and the trends tab in general as maintaining the evolution of the trade. We use this to guide our positions, and we use this to understand when it's time to take some profits, to escalate the core position back up again when the time is right, and ultimately to sell the position. So if you have any more questions about the phase column or the evolution of the trade or the concepts here, you can contact me directly, and we can talk about that. Leave some comments under the video, and you just keep learning more about the stuff that's within the matrix itself. Click all these help links here, and they'll talk about different topics that are under in the columns that they're under. They're really groupings of instructional videos. So if you have any other questions, let me know. If not, thanks for watching, and watch more content so you feel more comfortable not only using the matrix but following the evolution of the trade.